Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I am back working on small engines, and today's small engine is a Troy-Bilt lawnmower. Now this is a Troy-Bilt TB280ES. It has the electric start on it, which is pretty cool. It just has a rechargeable battery, sits right here, uses the power from the battery to run a little tiny starter, and has a push button up here. But that's not what we're working on. This particular lawnmower is not starting at all. You can pull and pull and pull, nothing happens. So we're gonna dig into it and see if we can't figure it out. All right, so this particular Troy-Bilt mower has a very common Briggs and Stratton engine in it. Most mowers, the Craftsman, Troy-Bilt series, stuff like that, they all have Briggs and Stratton. Generators use them. They're one of the most common small engines you'll ever find. So just like any other four-stroke engine, it only takes a few things for it to run. You need fuel, you need spark, you need compression. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by eliminating one of those. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take off this side where the air cleaner is at. And then after I pull this off, pull the air cleaner off, I'm going to take I got a bottle here full of fuel, and I'm going to poke a hole in the top of it, and I'm going to squirt some fuel right down the carburetor, see if it'll fire off of that. If it fires off of that, then we know we've got a fuel delivery issue, and we're going to have to dig deeper into the carburetor and clean it out more than likely. Now, if it doesn't fire off of that, then we've got an issue with the spark. And then if that's the case, we're going to pull off the spark plug wire here, pull the spark plug out, check the condition of that, make sure we've got spark, and we'll go through that whole process. But 9 times out of 10, it's an issue with the carburation. The motor's been sitting for a long time, hasn't really been run over the winter time, and now here comes spring, grass has grown, and it won't start. So let's dive in. So you don't have to use fuel for this. You can just use regular starter fluid if you have starter fluid. I just don't happen to have any on the shelf right now, so I'm just going to go ahead and use a water bottle with a little hole in it. Make sure it's dry, no water in it, and then you just poke a little tiny hole in it like that, and you squirt it in there like so. Doesn't take a lot. And then let's see if it'll just fire off of that. All right, it fired off just a little squirt of fuel, so we know we got spark. Now we're going to tackle the carburation issue. So just like most of these small engines I've worked on, if you watch my channel for any length of time, you know that I pull a lot of these carburetors off and replace a lot of these carburetors. I don't have one on hand today, so what I'm going to do is pull this off and see if I can't just clean it out and reinstall it. So they're all pretty typical. You've got 2 bolts that go all the way through the carburetor and mount to the engine. You pull those 2 off and some linkages, and the carburetor comes right out. And so that's all I'm going to do here today too. Okay, so this one's a little bit different. I was wrong. These 2 bolts here were just to hold this plastic cover on, but no big deal. There's 2 more bolts back here. These are a little bit bigger, one on each side. I've already got a couple of the springs off. You guys saw that in the time lapse. And then I gotta pull this bracket off. It looks like it's got 1 through bolt right here. This is to control your choke, like so. And then that'll come off, and then I can pull this little carburetor off, and then we'll look at it then. Okay, got the carburetor out on my workbench here. First thing, I'm just kind of observing, looking over it, making sure everything's functioning correctly. I don't expect anything to be wrong with the butterflies or anything like that. It's not that old of a lawnmower, so The gasket, fortunately, is still pretty good and intact. I'm going to go ahead and reuse that, seeing as how I don't have another one. And then I'll double check on On the lawnmower itself, coming off is an O-ring that goes in here, and that's still in pretty good shape too. So far so good. So just looking on the outside, it's good to go. So this is your fuel inlet right here, and this is your bowl. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take off the bowl, and inside here we're gonna see all little orifices and such. And this is where we're gonna have to end up cleaning out lately. Alright, so right here is your float. This controls your fuel flow going into the carburetor. And then typically what we're looking at, what gets clogged up, is underneath here. Let's see here, we'll pull this float off. There's a pin. Oh, that pin's on there. Let's see. There it goes. Alright, so that's your pivot pin there. Then this float comes off, and then there's a needle, we call this here. And this thing controls your flow. That little pinpoint blocks off an orifice. So as this float goes up and down, it opens and closes that orifice and allows fuel to come in and out. And nine times out of 10, what happens is the little orifice inside there gets clogged up with some dirt, debris, or what have you, and doesn't allow fuel flow into the bowl. Now, we had quite a bit of fuel in here, so that may not have been what was the problem. The other thing we got to check is the orifice that's inside of this too. And so we're going to take some carb cleaner, we're going to blow both those out, we're going to blow in through here, and just do a real good cleaning of this whole thing, and then reassemble it. When you're blowing your carb cleaner through these orifices, it's going to be hard to see in the camera, but what you want to see is, so your inlet here, you blow the carb cleaner through, and then out of here you'll see carb cleaner spray out. And then when you blow in through your main jet here, inside the body of this there's a little orifice that sticks out right there. So when you're blowing in through this way, you should see carb cleaner coming out through that way. And if both of those are clear, you should be good to go. There's a couple more little holes here and here. Just a general good spray down with carb cleaner or brake cleaner should usually do the trick. There's not much to these. They're pretty basic. Now, when you're ready for reassembly, you're basically reversing the order of this. So you take your float, you take your needle, and then this slides in here like that. Oops. I said like that. And you're going to set this right down over the top. Make sure the needle's going in there nice and easy. And then your pivot pin goes back in. Generally the same way it came out. Like so. You might have to use just a little bit of force. Make sure it's even on both sides. If there was a gasket or O-ring or something that goes around here for the bowl, you stick that back down on there, and then stick your bowl back down on there, and then stick your bolt back through here. Alright, so this is what I was talking about here. There's a little O-ring that sits on the intake here. Make sure that O-ring is in there and seated and that it is good shape. There's no nicks, because you don't want any vacuum leaks will cause problems down the road. And then once you've got that sorted, make sure you put your throttle rod back on the hole here before you bolt it on. Otherwise you won't be able to get it on, and then you'll have to unbolt it again. Alright, at this point I can go ahead and test. So before I put all the plastic and stuff back on here, I like to go through and do a quick run just to make sure everything I did was good, because if not, then I have to go and take all that plastic and stuff back off. And this is a good, because it'll run without, all that stuff. So make sure you put your springs back on, your spring for the throttle return, your spring for your choke return. Make sure those are all reattached. Make sure you've got your fuel line back in right here, and then all the bolts are tight. And at this point, I'm not even going to put any fuel in here. I know I have fuel flow going from my tank to the carburetor, so by now the bowl should be full. So it should take 1 or 2, 3 or 4, 5, 6, 7 pulls to get this thing started. Hopefully not too much. So I'm going to set this down here. and let's see what happens. All right, first pull. Hey, that's a win. It still has kind of a tit, you know, every once in a while it go tit. There still could be some very light dirt in there, or the spark plug could just be dirty. So I'm gonna pull the spark plug off, clean it off, and then I'm going to put a little bit of sea foam in it, in the fuel tank here, and that'll clean out whatever gunk is left that I did not get. So this is a product I swear by. You can use it in your cars and your small engines and whatnot, and whatever you want. It works really good, clean stuff out. So I'm gonna bolt this all back up. I'm gonna return it to my friend, and that will be it. So thanks for sticking around if you've got this far, and if you like what I do on this channel, please consider subscribing and also hit that like button for me. All right, thanks guys, we'll see you in the next one.